So welcome to another episode of Meals with Chini. And like we do it every other bi-weekly day, we meet to discuss things that will help our marriage move forward. On today's episode, episode 13, we will be looking at dealing with marriage stressors. Dealing with marriage stressors. So I see we lost our guest. I was just about introducing him, but I believe he will join us back soon. So on today's episode, we're looking at dealing with marriage stressors. And in marriage, we encounter a lot of things, good, as well as things that we need to work on, which are those things that are referred to as stressors. Stressors, because if not managed, can put a strain on the marriage itself. There are so many stressors which we'll be looking at today. Even death of a loved one, work stress, mental health problems, traumatic events. But I don't want to begin to eat the meal and leaving our guests out. So on today's episode of Meals with Chini, we are looking at marriage stressors and we'll have a great guest. Just permit me to share my slide as we proceed. So just before I bring in the guest for today's episode, I would want a quick warm-up reflection, and I would like to know your opinion in the chat. Do you agree that all couples go through marriage stress? If it's a yes, just type 1 in the chat. If it's a no, if you disagree, maybe some people are so informed, so empowered that they don't go through any stress. If that's your opinion, you just type 0 in the chat. So if you agree, type 1. If you don't agree, just type 0 in the chat. Do you agree that all marriage go through stress, and why? If it's a 1, why do you agree? If it's a 0, please let us know why you disagree. I see a couple of 1. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. 1. Yes. So do you want to let us know why you agree? Why do you agree that all couples go through marriage stress? Because it is in tapping the wisdom beneath your answer that makes the knowledge sit properly. So why do you agree that all couples go through marriage stress? I was thinking maybe there's a level of knowledge or awareness or exposure you will get to, and you'll be free of marriage stress. Okay, Jahara said, because stress is either caused by humans or environment, and we can embody in both. Thank you for sharing, Jahara. Who else? Why? Why do you think that all couples go through marriage stress? Would like to know your reason. Would like to also share and learn. Remember, we are exploring and discussing. So we are discussing with each other. And I believe that I could learn a thing or two from you today. Why do you think all couples go through marriage stress? It's not enough to just agree. Why do you agree? Thank you, Jahara, for sharing. Why do you agree? Okay, I see that. Everyone say most couples go through marriage stress because these are two individuals still learning each other, even if courted for so many years. Okay, thank you for that one too. That's an additional input. What if these people have been married for, say, 25, 30 years? They've been married already. Why should they still be going through stress? Thank you for sharing. And while we're on it, I leave that question for you to keep pondering on. You might still want to drop your suggestion or your reason why you think that in the chat. So let's discuss dealing with marriage stressors. And on today's episode on dealing with marriage stressors, yes, I see the contributions. I see your chat. And on today's episode on dealing with marriage stressors, Ede says other reasons is because circumstances change. So it's difficult. So its behavior and output, other circumstance changes. So its behaviors and outputs. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, change is one stress or two. That's what I'm hearing you say there already. That change is one stressor to marriage. Ebere say lack of finance, lack of communication, all valid, all valid. Thank you for that contribution. Thank you for sharing. And you might want to just continue dropping your input and your opinion while I introduce our guest for today's episode. On today's episode, dealing with marriage stressors, we have a great personality, and Amiable So, a dynamic speaker, my colleague in the marriage industry. He is an author, a clinical psychologist, is a life coach, and a spiritual shepherd. He has worked with different individuals, families, and organizations, as well as family life therapies for a decade. As a conference speaker for 13 years, as a clinical psychologist for the past 5 years, and as a prolific writer for 14 years now. He is in the person of Miracle Ihoma. He's a graduate of psychology and has a master's degree in clinical psychology. His love for personal development has endeared him to attend several informal trainings like the Daystar Leadership, the Head Speaker Academy, Family Life System Certification, and so many other intensive training courses on marriage and parenting with Orca Ministry Canada. He's a trauma prevention and management for associations for trauma outreach and prevention, USA. He has certification in cognitive behavioral therapy from the Association of Cognitive Behavioral Therapists in USA. Miracle is the principal consultant of Life Affairs International, an integrated training and support organization that creates superior strategy and solutions to help individuals, families, and organizations live their best life. Life Affairs is involved with training, coaching, therapy, counseling with individuals and organizations across the country. He is a conference speaker, and his humorous and mind-boggling teaching style holds his audience spellbound. So we're going to be held spellbound today. His clients testified about how 1 hour with him bets clarity and can move you from point A to point B. And we're spending an hour thereabouts with him today. So come on with your questions, because he will be moving you from point A to point B. Whatsoever the points you are at in counseling and coaching, well, he will not be counseling nor coaching today. He will be discussing the topic with us. His love for humanity and selfless service is also unambiguous, and as a result, he serves as a volunteer to Paradigm Individual Initiative Nigeria, Lagos State Empowerment and Resource Network, Lagos State's Psychosocial Response Team for the COVID-19 2020, and many other organizations. He is a recipient of Award Excellence from the Psychology Department of Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Award of Impact from Nigerian Red Cross Association, House of Representative Ajeromi Ifelodu, 50 Most Influential People Awards, and lots more. He's also the administrator of the Uncommon Man Network, an NGO with purpose to restore and preserve human life, founded by one Nigerian's foremost family life therapist, Praise Fowowe. And he is also a visiting lecturer at the Trinity University, Lagos, Nigeria. He is an author of several books, including Answering the Four Big Questions of Premarital Relationship, Self-Esteem, Tips of Developing a Healthy Self-Image and Relationship Dynamics, Managing 7 Types of Relationship. These, amongst all the other books he have written. An interesting thing about his life is that he grew up in a city referred to by many as a slum, that's the Ajegule, but has stood out amongst his peers and is now a candle that that lights other candles. He is a mentor to many, a friend to most, and a pedigree to few. Please join me in welcoming our guest today, Miracle Ihoma. Just say a welcome to him in the chat. Join me in welcoming our guests today. And I please crave your indulgence to mute, stay muted so that you don't interfere with the session. It would be great to just say welcome, welcome, welcome to him in the chat. We're happy to see you here, Mr. Miracle Ihoma, and it's a pleasure and a delight to have you on this episode of Meals with Chinny to speak on the topic dealing with marriage stressors. So they all say welcome, welcome, welcome to you in the chat. Over to you. You can take over from here. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you?
Okay, so we hear you, but it appears we are losing you.
Hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, can you
Yes,
hear me?
I can hear you. Please, can others confirm they can also hear in the chat? Can you please confirm you can hear our guest in the chat room? Just say yes if you can hear. Okay, so I hear you, Miracle. Maybe you want to speak for them to confirm. Okay, so it's a yes, they can hear you.
Okay, well, everyone can hear me?
Yes, they are confirming they can hear you, and I can hear you too.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Chinenya. Thank you very much for this invite, and sincerely, thank God I'm here right now and we are having this conversation. And it's a very needed conversation, if you ask me, uh, because really there are a lot of stress in life and a lot of stressors in marriage, right? And we really need to just discuss or have that conversation about some of these stressors and how to deal with it. Because the reason a lot of marriages fail is not because um, they have peculiar stressors. It's basically because they have stressors that they don't know how to manage. And marriages who succeed as well succeed not because people in those marriages don't have stressors confronting them in their marriage, but because they have learned how to deal with those stressors. That's just the difference between those two set of people, really. So we want to want to talk about some of these stressors today and how we can deal with them. But first of all, we want to ask ourselves, what is a stressor, or what are marriage stressors? So if we start by answering the question, what is stressors? So it's just a big English, right? But it's simply a way of saying what causes someone stress. So whatever causes an individual stress, it's called stressors. Yeah. So whatever it is that causes me stress or that causes anyone stress is called a stressor. So in the context of marriage, we would say that whatever causes us stress in the marriage environment or in marriage is stress or that stressors, right? And there's an important and a very integral definition of mental health by World Health Organization. And maybe later on in the conversation, we will consolidate on that. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because World Health Organization defines mental health as this. It says mental health is the ability of an individual to cope with the normal stresses of life. That's one of the highlights of that definition, which then means that, okay, if it's saying that your mental health is determined to a large extent to how much you are able to cope with the normal stresses of life. What is very striking about that statement is the fact that stress is called normal. Yes, stress is called normal. So it then means that stress is the constant K of life. If there's anything that is constant in life, it is stress. So I know a lot of people say, I don't want stress, I don't want stress, or I don't like stress. I know we say that a lot, I don't want stress, I don't like stress, and all of that. Why, we say those things, stress is something that is inevitable. No one can live without stress. The only person that doesn't have stress is the dead man. As long as you are alive on this side of eternity, you would always have stress. It is not a prophecy. It is not a curse. It's just the reality of life. Stress is the constant K of life. So you are either in a stress right now, you are going through a stress, or you're just coming out of one stress. Those are the three kinds of individuals that exist. The individual that is in a stressful situation right now is going to a stressful situation, or just coming out of a stressful situation. And if you stay where I stay in Lagos, Nigeria, then you know that you don't need
Okay. I guess his internet is interfering with his session with us. Let's wait a few minutes and see if he will join us. But while we wait for that, I would like to know what are some stressors that you think married people can experience, or it could be one that you have witnessed, it could be one that you have experienced yourself, or one that you have heard about. Can you type in the chat room some marriage stressors that you know exist in marriage? While we wait for our guests to join us back in, I guess his internet is malfunctioning. Okay, finance, thank you so much, Jahara. Thank you so much for sharing. What are some of the stress that you think communication, thank you, that you think that people in marriage experience? Okay, he's right back with us. I'll just hand over to him. Thank you for joining us. Yes. Over to you. You can continue.
So sorry. So this is one of the stress we're talking about, right? Network stress. So it's part of the stress that we face, for those of us who live in Nigeria. It's part of the stress, right? So these are the stresses that we get to face, right? So if when you get married, like I was saying before my network interrupted, the fact that when people get married, people a lot of the times focus on the art of marriage without focusing on the science of marriage. They forget that marriage has two sides: the art of marriage and the science of marriage. The art of marriage is the Instagram part of marriage. The art of marriage is the butterfly part of marriage. The art of marriage is the Bella Ninja part of marriage. Why the science of marriage are the systems required to sustain the arts, right? But a lot of the times we focus on the art, the butterflies, the Instagram, the PDAs, public display of affection, and things like that. Where I'm proposed to, where I'm not proposed to, how I was proposed to, how big my wedding was, and all of that, without focusing on the things that are necessary to actually sustain that marriage, right? And because of that, people then face a lot of stress in their marriage that they are not even prepared for. And in fact, a lot of the times, people don't even know that they are supposed to experience stress in marriage. So people go into marriage expecting to have everything okay, a bed of roses. Oh, I'm going to be served breakfast in bed. You have been lied to, my dear. I'm going to be, we're just going to be in the moon every day. Everything is just going to be fun and all of that. So we don't actually get to prepare for that aspect of marriage, which is why a lot of the times people have now said this generation are not resilient enough to sustain relationships and marriage. Because a lot of people in my generation, the millennials and maybe the Gen Zs who are coming right after me, are people who don't understand stress. A little stress and they're out, even in the workplace. Oh, you stress them a bit and they're changing jobs. Oh, so they are called, or we are called, the Indomie generation, right? 2 minutes, right? Generation, where the microwave generation. We want it right here and now. We don't want anything to stress us. We want everything to be fine. We want to make all the money right now. We want to have all the. So that's the mindset that we have. And of course, a lot of the times beliefs are pervasive. What that means is that your beliefs would affect many areas of your life. That's why there's a postulation in neuro-linguistic programming that says how you see one thing is most likely how you see every other thing. How you see one thing, how you perceive one thing would actually um, will actually uh, um, 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 go ahead or spread to other areas of your life, to how you are now able to perceive other things, right? So that's actually a very good way to lay foundation on what the stress in marriage is, or the stressors of marriage are. And really, there are many stressors of marriage, and we are going to list a few of them, right? And please, I want you to help me so that this is as interactive as possible. So I'm going to be mentioning a few stressors. So what I want you to also do is to mention a few others also in the chat box. So whatever stress comes to your mind, go ahead and type it in the chat box as we continue. One area of stress in marriage, or one stressor can be sex. Sex can be a stressor in marriage for many reasons, right? For many reasons. Number one, one partner, for instance, can like sex, another one might not like sex. We've seen that play out a lot of the times in the counseling room, to say that, oh, this person wants sex 3 times a week, this other person wants it once in 2 months. So how then do you handle that? That's already stress for both of them, really, because it would not make sense to say, oh, he's stressed over sex. for just one person. It's stress for the both of them, because the person who wants sex very regularly is stressed because he's not getting as much sex as he wants. While the person who doesn't want it as much is also stressed because they are forced to do what they don't want to do. Right. So even when they give in to the regularity of how the other person wants it, it becomes something they are doing out of duty and not out of the fact that they enjoy it. I can't count the number of married women who are having sex for righteousness sake, to fulfill all righteousness, not because they're enjoying it, but because they just want to do it as a duty in marriage. Right. So that's a stressor. Right. And I've seen it play out in marriages where couples have not had sex for 3 months. Couples have not had sex for 6 months. Couples have not had sex for 1 year. Yes. Yes. These are not cock and bull stories. These are real life situations. These things are playing out every day. That's a stressor. Another stressor can be finances. Oh, money issue. Now, there are many studies that have been done about what causes marriages to fail. And top of the list is usually sex, followed by finances, followed by money issues. In fact, in some studies, finance even comes before sex. Money issues can be an area of stress in a marriage in so many ways. And I've counseled a lot of people who have had issues in those lines or along those lines. Oh, either we are not making enough money and then it's an issue, right? Yeah, somebody said death of a loved one and grief. Thank you, Mrs. Yeah, for that point. Yeah, so death of a loved one and grief can be a stressor, right? Because of course there's nothing as painful as losing a loved one, as losing, a spouse or a loved one, and how that it might even be your spouse, it can be a family member, somebody you love, and how that can impact on your marriage. Finances can have impact on your marriage. We're not making enough money. Let's make more money. Oh, in fact, sometimes for some people, it's not even about the amount of money. It's not about how much they are making. Some people are making a lot of money, but the issue is now how we are appropriating that money. In recent times, for instance, I've dealt with two couples who are saying that, oh, we make a lot of money, but my husband is wasteful. My husband is a spender. My husband spends, erratically. He doesn't pay attention to our needs before he spends. We make this and then we spend almost everything. That's also stressors. Now it's not about how much they are making, because when it comes to money, there are three aspects. It's about making money, managing money, and then multiplying money. These three can be, a stress in marriage, right? Because when it comes to finances, couples many times, or people, not even couples right now, everybody is either a saver or a spender. Everyone is either a saver or a spender. What does that mean? And please identify yourself. So let me know which one you are in the chat box. If you are a saver, you are somebody who likes to keep money, who likes to save for the future, who would deprive themselves of what they might need at this time because of a bigger picture, because of something they want to achieve in the future. Those are savers. Spenders are people who they get money and then they are spending it immediately, right? They are more concerned about the now. Let's enjoy life. They will be the ones to tell you life, nah, jeje. Life, I cannot come and kill myself. I must spend this my money. So they are spenders. So these are people who hardly have savings, right? So I can see somebody saying they are both. Somebody saying they are a saver. Beautiful, right? So it's important to be able to, because you know why this can be an issue in marriage. If a spender marries a saver, now they can have conflicts along those lines. And I've seen it play out many times. In fact, many times, two of them attract themselves. Where a spender, is married to a saver, or a saver is married to a spender, And then this one is saying, let's save this money now. This one is saying, but if we take out this money, it will not kill us now. If we use this money to go on vacation, it will not kill us. Or if we use money to buy this thing, we will not die now. Why are you doing let's just enjoy this life? Now that's a point of conflict. This one wants this, that one. That can become a stressful situation if not well managed. So finances is there. So thank you very much for your responses, right? Emotional and physical trauma, right, can be a stress as well. Emotional or physical trauma can be a stressor, right? Where somebody is going through an emotional torture, either from one of the other partner rather. So the other partner can actually be inflicting emotional trauma on the other, or physical trauma, right? And this if trauma might not even be coming from the marriage, it can be coming from somewhere else. Maybe you do. In fact, let me even tell you, many couples are suffering for what they don't know nothing about. Many couples are suffering from what they know nothing about. Some of what they know nothing about. So, for instance, I get married to a lady, and then she was sexually abused when she was 4 by her cousin. And then when she was 12, she was molested again by a stranger. Now she carries this burden, she carries this baggage, and gets married to me. I get married to this lady. Oh, she's a nice girl. She's a good girl. But then these traumas begin to play out. She begins to develop trust issues towards me. She begins to develop suspicion. I don't know where is this coming from. Hey, why is this suspicious? What's going on? I saw me that went on in her background when she was 4, when she was 8, when she was 12. These are the realities that we face. It could be a difficult spouse, right? Difficult spouses, really, because marriage is a game of two. Marriage is a game of two. It's not a game of one, it's a game of two. That's why it takes two to build. That's why before you criticize anyone who is divorced or who is separated, calm down and understand that could be you. It could be you. Let me tell you. I can prove it to you. It could be you, because how well can you build something that the other person is determined to tear down? How well can you build it? So let's even say you are doing everything to make your marriage work. You are giving your best. You are giving your 100%. And then your partner is giving nothing. In fact, he's taking from your 100%, depleting you and tearing down the marriage. And all effort you are making to make things work is actually fighting against it. And because I've seen this play out many times. Sometimes one partner wants to even go for counseling. The other one say, I'm not going anywhere. You can go. I'm not going anywhere. In fact, the other one can say, don't reach counseling. You're not going anywhere. So how well, what do you expect that person to do? That's a difficult spouse where you are doing everything to make it work, but the other person doesn't want to make it work. That can be a stressor rather. An unhappy or unfulfilled spouse too can be a stressor. Work-life balance can be a stressor. Oh, how great a stressor this can be. You work 9 to 5. Because you work 9 to 5 does not mean that's the amount of time you even spend outside of your family. You leave the home, say at 6 or at 7, get to work at 9, work till 5, leave your office and get home at 7 or 8 or 9. You're tired. No, you really don't have time for your spouse. And let's even stretch that a bit. And let's say you have 2 children. That's a lot of stress in itself, man. Now then you have to find a balance in all of that, right? Parenting too can be stressful. You have children. You now have, before children came, it was just you and your spouse. Your spouse had 100% of your attention. Now children have come. They have to get a part of your attention as well. What do you do about that? And of course, many times couples drift when children come in, right? Couples begin to drift away from each other. Sometimes they now shift their attention from their spouse to their children. And that can be an issue. That can be a stressor. Another one can be, somebody said, a sick, caring for a sick loved one, or loving in times of chronic illness. Man, that's a very big stressor. In fact, my dad is late right now, but before my dad passed, my dad was bedridden for many years. And I saw how my mom sacrificed a lot. Just if I'm telling you the truth, that's why. See, what you have is your spouse, majorly. Because we the children, yeah, we cared for our dad, we were there for him, but we still went about our business. I still went to school, But my mom sacrificed that business. She was there with my dad all those years, and that was a stress. That was a great stress because even affected our education. Because now monies that was coming in from our business were halted because now she had to take care of us. Somebody said unmet expectations. Yeah, you got married, you were expecting these things, you had dreams, did what you saw, you had a dream marriage, you had model marriages, and then you get married, man. And then it's almost like, what have I gotten myself into? In fact, I was dealing with a spouse recently, not a spouse now, a lady who was telling me about she's going through. It's about maybe a fourth or fifth year marriage. And then the first 3 years, everything was good, was rosy until the past 1 year. She said that it has been hell, that she don't know what has happened. Husband just changed. You know, husband has started behaving in certain ways that she doesn't understand. And now she's experiencing depressive symptoms as a result of that. So there are a lot more, right? Death of a spouse, separation or divorce, right? So all of this, arrival of a new child, all of these can actually be stressors, But then remember what I said, the constant key of life is stress. The constant key of life is stress. So you want to now ask yourself, how do I manage this stress? But before I go into that, let me ask, is anybody here that is not going through one form of marriage? If you are married here, you're not going through any form of marital stress. I indicate you're not going through any form of marital stress. Please, I would like to maybe hand over the mic to you. You need to teach us how you are doing it. But if you are going through one form of marital stress or the other, please also let us know that, yes, I'm going through one marital stress or the other. You might not want to mention what it is, but just tell us that you're going through a marital stress. Let's find solace in the fact that we are not alone, and there are a lot of people who are like us in the building, who are like us in this chat room. Somebody said unreasonable demanding in-laws or family members. That's a big stressor, man. Yeah. Now, in handling this stress, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Cynthia, for telling us that. Right. Thank you for being honest. Thank you, Jahara Ruth. Thank you very much for being honest. Thank you. In handling this stress, we must understand. Yakubu, thank you. Yakubu, thank you very much. Thank you, man. Thank you. So in handling the stress, we must understand that there are peculiar solutions. Yeah, thank you, Juliana. I can see you. There are peculiar solutions in handling the stress. They are actually not a one size fits all, because for instance, somebody who is going through a financial stress or who has a financial stressor, or is going through a financial stress, and somebody who is going through a sex stress or an in-law stress, they might need certain types of different solutions, right, on how they should go about it. So we need to be able to understand that. And of course, at the end of the day, somewhere I will touch a bit about that before we call it a day. Yeah, but I just needed to throw that in as we continue. But we need to first of all understand, number one, we need to understand and remember why we got married in the first place. The purpose of marriage must be preserved and must be remembered at every single time. That's why the question, if you're not married here, praise God, you must ask yourself, why do I want to get married? If you are married, you want to ask yourself, why did I get married? The purpose of marriage must always be that filter, because purpose is what purifies motives. Purpose. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Many times purpose will sustain you when you remind yourself that, okay, I got married because of this. I got married because I want, this is what why I got married. So it would help you to stay through in those times. So always remind yourself the purpose for why you got married. Then you must understand But marriage is not all bed and all a bed of roses like we have established before. You must understand that there will be trying times in marriage. You must understand that there will be good times and there will be bad times, as is constant in any area of life for that matter. So we must understand that there will be ups and downs. Yes, we hope and pray and prepare for more ups than downs, more good than bad times. But there will be some of those bad times. This is not to scare you, right? But just to tell you that, of course, there'll be days where you want to sleep, you want to turn your back on your partner in that sense. You want to just be on your own. You don't want to talk to your partner. There'll be days where that butterfly is no longer is not there. You know, but then in those moments, you if you are prepared already mentally for it, you know that it's one of those things. Number two, you understand and remind yourself of the purpose of getting married. Then as well, you must make sure that you prepare for the scientific part of marriage and not just the arts part of marriage. Like I said earlier, where it's just all the butterflies in our tummy and the public display of affections, but where we also understand that marriage is sometimes a science, which will now lead me to my next point, which is creating systems that would help you. Because really, people who have systems in their marriage as a result of the knowledge of the scientific part of marriage are the people who would have less stressors than others. If you don't have adequate structures and systems in your marriage, you have more stressors in your marriage. When you have more systems, when you have more structures in your marriage, you discover that there will be less stressors. What do I mean? Now, let me give you an example. An example can be, let's take finance as an example, right? As dicey as finance can be in marriage, if you create a structure and a system about how you want to spend your money in marriage, you have less stressors. So if, for instance, there's already a structure, we know that, so let me give you an instance. So a couple decides and says, okay, whatever we have in this whatever we make in this marriage is going to be called family economy. We are going to put our monies together, right? None of us is going to have individual money. So your money is not going to be your money, and my money is not going to be my money. Whatever we make is going to be our money. And then from that common purse, we will distribute whatever it is that we need. We can now say, we can create a structure and say, okay, you know what? In that family economy or in that family purse, you will bring, say, 50% of what you earn. I'll bring 50% of what I earn. Then you have maybe 50% of whatever you earn for your own personal whatever. And then we'll distribute whatever it is we need collectively from that purse. Now, if that is a system that you have, you will need to stress yourself about a lot of things. You will need to be fasting and praying for school fees, for house rent, because there's a system already. If we draw a budget, say a monthly budget, and then say, okay, this is our monthly budget. 10% we go for feeding, and that 10% we go for house rent, and that 10% we go for transportation, and that 10% we go for savings for school fees. You will need to be praying and fasting for all of those. There's already a structure. There will not be conflict along those lines because there's a structure and a system to help you navigate that. Please, does this make sense? If it makes sense, please let me know. That's how structures can actually save you of stressors. Now that sounds like a rhyme. Structures can save you from stressors. Even in the area of conflict resolution. Conflict resolution, for instance, if you have conflict, you will have a lot of stressors. You will have a lot of stressors. Hello, can you still hear me? Yeah. So if you don't have a structure or a system for conflict resolution, you will have a lot of stressors in your marriage. How do you resolve conflicts? you need to answer that question. How are we going to resolve conflict in our marriage? How do we resolve conflict? When we have issues, how do we resolve it? Once that is put in place, a lot of stressors will be reduced. Let me give you some tips that can help you. For instance, someone can say that in this marriage, we will not go 48 hours without resolving whatever conflict that we have, no matter what the conflict is. It can be a system that says no matter what it is, it will not be more than 48 hours before we resolve this conflict. Another person can say, you know what, we would have a structure in place where when we are not able to resolve something, after we have both tried, we will have somebody like an accountability partner that we can report to. Oh, I know a lot of people say, oh, there's no third parties in marriage. That's a lie, you. Third parties are not bad. Third parties just have guiding rules or guiding principles, which I'm not here to discuss. But we need to have those type of structures. Those are some of the structures you can put in place in your marriage, for instance. So structures and systems will save you from a lot of stressors. Then also, you want to take advantage of marriage mentors, coaches, and therapists. You want to take advantage of them. Marriage mentors, coaches, and therapists. Very importantly, because these are people that will save you of a lot of stressors. For instance, I would suggest that every marriage, every couple has a marriage mentor or a marriage coach. Every mentor has a marriage mentor or a marriage coach, someone who they get some sort of insights, who they get some sort of learnings and accountability from. Yeah, so every marriage needs that. And it is very important because it can save a lot of stressors. It can save you from a lot of stressors. So marriage mentors, marriage coaches, marriage therapists can save you from a lot of stressors. So that is one way to manage your stress. Because see, there is a body of knowledge already available to help you navigate these things. So it makes sense to actually engage people who might have this knowledge. For instance, is a good marriage mentor, a good marriage coach. Engage her. I know we don't like to pay for things in this part of the world, but we must begin to even change that mindset. We must begin to change that narrative to say, if something is important to me, I will pay for it. Because your money will go in the direction of your value. If you say your marriage is valuable, you will spend money on it. It's part of it. Then lastly, as I begin to round off, you must understand what is called the power of meanings. You must understand the power of meanings. This is so critical. The power of meanings would help you navigate your emotions. Now, there's what is called the ABC of emotions. I'm not spending a lot of time on it. I can teach this ABC of emotions for 1 hour. But let me just give you a summary. Now, the ABC of emotion says it's an acronym which says A is for awareness or activating event, B is for beliefs or thoughts, and then C is for emotional consequences. So it's saying that the ABC of emotion says that activating event is not the reason for emotions or actions. Awareness is not the reason for emotions or actions. Our beliefs are actually the reason for emotions and actions. Let me take that a little further. So, if for instance, your husband says, "Sweetheart, you are very stupid," and then you slapped him, right? Your husband says you're stupid, and then you slapped him. Now, let me tell you what has happened. A is activating events, awareness. So, your husband slapped you. Your husband said you are stupid, rather. That's awareness. Action or emotion is I felt whatever. Let's say I felt bad. I felt angry. Then action was I slapped him back. Now, if I asked you and said, why did you slap your husband? You would tell me I slapped him because he told me I'm stupid. Abby? But that's a lie. You did not slap your husband because he said you are stupid. I will prove it to you. You didn't slap him because he said you're stupid, because if you slapped him, if there was another response that was available, another option that was available apart from slapping him, then it meant that you decided to choose the option of slapping, which is peculiar to your, if you slapped him because he said you're stupid, that they are stupid, you should also slap. If anybody, if say 5 people are told you are stupid, you are stupid, you are stupid, you are stupid, 5 people were told that, and then let's even say 4 people slapped, 1 person doesn't slap, it has defied your theory. That 1 person has defied your theory. That 1 person has said and confirmed to us that you slapped not because your husband said you were stupid. Because if slap was a response to you are stupid, everybody should slap when they are told you are stupid. The fact that there is somebody somewhere who would react differently to that action, to that statement, means that slapping is not the standard response to it. It was your peculiar response based on your view of the world. So it then means that we will trace your action to your beliefs or to your thoughts about you are stupid, what your husband said. It was your interpretation of what your husband said that determined whether you slapped him or not. That is why beliefs and thoughts are powerful, very powerful. So if I say you are useless, you can decide to see it in 2 ways. Wow, I'm good for nothing. I'm stupid. Or you can decide to say, oh, useless from 2 words, use and less. You're not maximizing my potential. That's why you feel I'm useless. And you can ask me, so how useful can I be to you? Or how more useful can I be to you? Now, the same thing said that could have caused a fight, but because I had a different interpretation, I had a different response. That's the ABC of emotions. That's the power of meanings. This would help you handle stressors differently. It would help you to build a positive coping mechanisms, because one of the ways people cope with stress is what we call coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms are a set of ways we cope with stressors around us. So there are 2 types of coping mechanisms. There are negative coping mechanisms, there are positive coping mechanisms. So for instance, someone can face stress in their marriage and then decides to begin to take alcohol. That's a negative coping mechanism. Another one can say, okay, I can begin to give whatever my husband says or whatever my wife says a different meaning. That's a positive coping mechanism. Another person can say, oh, because of this stressor, I will start keeping late nights. Negative coping mechanism. Another person can say, oh, I will develop more healthy relationships outside of my spouse, strong friendships outside of my spouse that will give me that support system that I need. Positive coping mechanism. So you want to ask yourself, what are your coping mechanisms? How are you coping with the stress? Because everybody has one way they cope. Everyone must have a lot of positive coping mechanisms. If I ask you right now, tell me, and I want everybody to respond as I round off. This is the last thing I would ask as I round off. Tell me 5 ways you cope with stress. 5 ways. Just type down in the chat box. 5 ways you cope with stress, and that would bring me to the end of my conversation this evening. Hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you, right? That you can actually cope with stress, no matter what stress you're going through, and help is available for you. So seek that help. Yeah. But please, let's go ahead to answer the question: how do you cope with stress? Yeah. Somebody say meditation, yoga. Let's get more responses, please. Thank you, Mrs. Chine. You can take over right.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, you can begin to drop your question in the chat. And I see a question right there for you, Mr. Miracle. I would like you to take it. Someone says, what of silent treatment? Is it a coping mechanism? Maybe you want to speak to that. What of silent treatment? Hello.
What does silent treatment mean?
Someone is asking, what of silent treatment? Is it a coping mechanism? If yes, is it positive or negative? She just dropped what of silent treatment. I would like you to answer it.
Yeah, so what does the person mean by silent treatment?
He's asking if it's a coping mechanism.
So what is silent treatment? I want to understand.
Okay. Okay, please, Jahara, would you want to unmute and explain further?
So what is silent treatment? The person can help me expatiate.
I mean, silent treatment in the sense of trying to ignore or not just give a response to stress when that's or fighting or disrespect of the person. Then when you're talking, I just need to I'm trying to avoid contact and all of that. That's what I'm trying to ask. I hope playing up.
Is it me? But I don't know. I really didn't hear that very well. But somebody rightly said that somebody said in the chat box that silent treatment means you ignore using attitude or something. You know. But I think I get it now. You know, silent treatment, you're not responding to what the person is saying, you know, but maybe you're just giving an attitude. Well, that might not be sustainable, right? Because emotions need an outlet. So if you're feeling a certain type of way, you need to outlet that emotion. You need to create a channel for those emotions, right? When you don't release your emotions, you will most likely implode. When you don't release your emotions, you will most likely implode. That's the reason why it looks like there are people, for instance, especially introverted people, phlegmatics, right, are very, very, what's it called now? Guilty of this. So they can carry a lot of things, they can absorb a lot of pressure, absorb a lot of pressure, absorb a lot of pressure, keep quiet, keep quiet, keep quiet. And then it gets to a point where they explode. And they do something that even their spouse and people around them cannot imagine that they will be able to do something like that, because they have kept and absorbed those emotions for too long. So emotions need outlets. It might not be, your spouse might not be the outlet, but some ways. For instance, some people, I've had a client who said that she screams on a pillow. That's a way of exhaling. That's a way of exhaling that emotion. Some people can call a friend and talk to a friend about what is going on. If you talk to a counselor, that can be an outlet as well. You know, but there must always be an outlet of that emotion. You know, and if your spouse is receptive, you can talk to them about it as well. Yeah, so it's very important that we outlet our emotions and don't let them implode in the inside of us.
Okay, thank you for that. I would like to encourage everyone here who has not registered If you want to get a replay of this, you need to register to get it. To get the replay, register on the link that I just dropped on the chat to get the replay. That's the only way we can send it to you. Thank you, Jahara. She have sent her list of 5 coping mechanisms that she used. I see some others too. Thank you, Yakubu. Thank you, Labari, for the coping mechanism you've dropped. Yakubu, I get into some work to feel productive and get my mind off the stress. That particular one is still leaving me with a question of sustainability. How sustainable is it? Would you become a workaholic to manage stress? And how does that affect other things in your life? This is something to ponder over. And I don't know if our guests have anything to say to that. So Yakubu's coping mechanism is to get into work, productive work, and getting his mind off the stress. But my question, however, for him is how sustainable and how does it affect other things around his life?
That's a very very reasonable question. It's a question that he needs to answer and to be truthful to himself about it. Because, like I said, coping mechanisms can be positive, or in the long run, they are negative. So, work, for instance, is a short-lived coping mechanism. Yes, it can be okay, but it's not something that you should use for a long period of time. Because, like she said, you would then become a workaholic, and that would affect other areas of your life, developing sustainable relationships. So, if you have children, it's going to also affect your children, and it's just going to affect a lot of things as well. So, it's something that you really want to look into and make sure that it is not something you want to do in the long run.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Yakubu. I see you say it's serving you for now. So if it's serving you, that's fine. But then if it's not serving you, it's something you definitely need to look into. What other aspects of your life have you even checked all other aspects before saying it doesn't have any negative effect on other things? If it doesn't have, then you're good to go. You're good to go. Thank you, Laveri, for joining in. Thank you, Yakubu, too. They say, thank you for another great session. And if you still have any question, please, you want to unmute and ask or drop it in the chat and we will take that question. Remember to click the link in the chat if you would like to get the replay. That's the only way we can send it to you if you've not registered already. And when you come in for the next episode, please ensure you invite someone, come along with someone if you feel that this has been helpful and you're learning something. Please say thank you to our guest in the chat. He has done so well. Thank you so much, Mr. Miracle. We appreciate your time with us and the insightful learnings. You've shared a whole lot with us, from making it clear that stress is constant K of life, you called it, and expounding so much on the different stressors of marriage, and even giving us an in-depth way of managing it so that, it doesn't sit with us all time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You've really, really thrown so much light and so much insight gained tonight. And we appreciate your presence. We do not take it for granted. And that will be it on this episode. In rounding up, I would like to share this favorite quote of mine, which I love. Love is in people, and people put love in marriage by building friendship, as it is not a lack of love, but the lack of friendship that destroys a marriage. So, as you've learned all this today, become your spouse's friend and put love in your marriage, such that you become the solution to your spouse's stress, not the cause, knowing fully well that K is a constant K. Stress is a constant K of marriage. Thank you so much for joining in, and until we meet again on our next episode of Meals with Chini, it's actually a bye from my end. Thank you for joining in, and do have a wonderful night rest. Bye.
Nigeria, Africa, worldwide. It's the ever blazing DJ Neptune. Rocking your radio with the hottest tunes on earth. DJ Neptune. That's ready. This isn't your usual mix.